Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Hopefully you've all had a magnificent Monday and a great start to your weeks after a nice, relaxing weekend. Christmas is fast approaching, and I thought Monday today would be a good day to make a Cardano video. We're going to be looking at the previous price prediction that we gave in regards to Cardano coming down to that 26 cents range, which we currently find ourselves at. And we're going to be once again asking and answering the question, is now the time, in my opinion, to be buying Cardano? I'm also going to give a bit of a pep talk because I'm sure many of you are still holding on to your Cardano. You know, I still have a bag of Cardano, as of course I run a stake pool. ALLIN is the ticker for anybody who's interested in staking with me. And I've kind of committed throughout this bear market, even if it becomes unprofitable, to maintain a stake pool, that's something that I was going to do. You know, I have a vested interest in the Cardano blockchain in terms of it succeeding. You know, I want to see it succeed. This is one of my favorite crypto projects. And I want to give a little bit of a pep talk because I've been where you guys perhaps are today back in 2018. You know, I lived through that bull and bear market. And I remember thinking back then, things can't go lower. Surely, right? We've had enough. And things just continue to bleed out until there was a reason for them not to. So that's going to be in keeping with the theme of what this video is going to be about. You know, Cardano will reemerge at some point. But we do daily cryptocurrency market updates where we don't just look at crypto, we look at the kind of macro economic landscape, and it all suggests that there's further downside, and I don't think that Cardano is going to escape that. So the last video that we made was called When to Buy Cardano ADA Again, 26 cents, 18 cents, price prediction moving forwards, must watch. Now we've hit our first price prediction. However, I would like to say right from the outset that I do think that there are lower prices to be had, and I still have not reaccumulated the Cardano that we sold around that $1 mark and have now 4-5x'd our overall bags. I still haven't bought back, and I actually don't have plans until I see the broader picture clearing up of buying back just yet. Now, there are some somewhat, I mean, you could say maybe bullish signs. Actually, looking at the RSI, before we had this recent spill, the RSI was putting in a bit of a bullish divergence. Something to be had here in regards to Bitcoin. Bitcoin also has got this bullish divergence. I think it's going to I think maybe Cardano is leading Bitcoin in this circumstance, and it's going to do a similar thing. But you have now came down and put in a lower low on your RSI. And I do think the next low, something to look for would be if you put in this next low, and maybe your RSI is up here, so you get that other bullish divergence again. Maybe if we find ourselves at 18 cents, which was our next price target that we looked at over 2 weeks ago, then we may be interested in perhaps dipping our feet back in. But because of the overall macro picture, which I think is a very bleak one for all assets, not just crypto, you know, we're not delving in and buying Cardano just yet. And we've continued to maintain the stance. We really flipped bearish round about here. You know, we got out of Bitcoin around about 44K. And have been sort of riding the downside since, being mostly in stables, waiting to accumulate again. And I'm here to say, unfortunately, guys, now I don't believe is the time. Do I think that Cardano is going to be more than 20 cents over the next 5 years? Absolutely, I do. In fact, you know, it would be insane if it wasn't, and would have, you know, really not gained the traction that I think it's set to. But for me, it's all about optimizing that entry. And for us to buy back in today, you know, we 4x, 5x'd our Cardano holdings. But I actually do think that the price is likely to come lower. And this is what we're going to talk about in this video. And you should never get into a trap of saying that, oh, well, look, it's at a discounted price now. Surely it can't go much lower. Just because today Cardano is, this is Bitcoin, 91% down, you know, for it to run to where we're potentially saying it may get to, which would be 18 cents, that's still, you know, another 30% downside. And it could actually put a toe in lower than that if we get the capitulation event that I am essentially predicting for all markets and have been predicting really since the start of this year. You know, I do think there's some Looking at the yield curve is essentially foretelling it, and now it's becoming more and more of a reality. We're just waiting for that Lehman's moment. I think that's going to tank all markets, and then we'd be interested in starting to accumulate. But right now, anybody that's interested in joining my Patreons, you know, as far as investing goes, we've pretty much nailed this year. Got the start of it wrong, and then obviously flipped our bias. But if we drop down the top, where did we get these price targets from? Well, we look for prior data, areas that have acted as support previously. Because that's really, when it comes to trading, that's a lot of what you're doing. You're looking at prior information that may, you know, act in a certain way when you get to these levels. So this is the sort of end of this consolidation before we have this big leg. We've retraced it all and we're now here. You may get a bit of a rally here, but I think that what's going to happen is the overall weight of the cryptocurrency market is going to continue to make Cardano bleed. So I just want to get this point across, because lots of people say, well, how can Cardano still be going down? Who's selling? Well, how price is essentially determined, for those of you that don't quite understand this yet, is price is determined on that day what's being bought and what's being sold. So we know that the vast majority of the Cardano supply, 70, I think 2-3% last time I looked, could be even higher than that, is actually staked. Yeah, we know there's no lock-in period, so it's technically liquid. But that doesn't change. We know the majority of people that hold Cardano don't buy and sell it on a daily basis. They're hodlers. Now, that only really amplifies the price when you have an influx of buyers and a lack of sellers. Okay, when you've got in this current situation, a bear market, continuous sellers with a lack of buyers, because everyone's looking for lower prices, the price will bleed and lead towards the downside. And I think that, you know, just like me back in 2018, when I was kind of going, oh, come on, it can't go much lower, and just continue to do so. That's what I'm envisioning for Cardano moving forwards. And I still think that there are lower prices to be had. The other key level that we looked at was around about 18 cents. And I think that this is where you're heading to, guys. So 18 cents would call for a further drop of around about 30%. I think that's quite likely. And here would probably be an area where I would look to perhaps accumulate. Now, there are, of course, lower targets. Depending on how bad things get, guys, we ultimately don't know. You know, this is the first time, and I've shown you this on a number of occasions, that Bitcoin has ever had to. Markets since, and I'll show you this on the stock market. We can get rid of this draw for the sake of the video. Markets have only, since 2008, when Bitcoin was created, experienced stimulus upon stimulus. Okay? There was a period in 2018 when the Fed decided that they wanted to tighten, and then, of course, had to really undo things. But if you look at the money supply since 2000, okay, we're right back here. Since 2008, where are we, guys? Since 2008, it's only, you know, this is 2008 when Bitcoin was created, and Bitcoin is really a macrocosm for all the altcoins, which are microcosms. You know, the money supply has just continued to inflate. You know, Bitcoin has never had to go through a period where there's this aggressive tightening, and also never had to go through a kind of recessionary period. And I would argue, given its high beta nature, it's going to sell off to more of a degree. And we're still calling for, you know, the stock market to at least get back to, I think the S&P is going to about 3,000. Crypto will not, I don't believe, given the correlation that we've seen thus far, fare very well under that set of circumstances. Please watch my daily cryptocurrency market updates. They are gold, if you ask me. You get some real alpha in there. Don't take my word for it. I'm not here trying to portray myself as the best trader. In fact, I'm still very early on my trading journey. But it's something that I'm committed to and dedicating to. And of course, growing with you guys is a nice thought. So if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. But from an investment point of view, we've been very spot on. And it's still, unfortunately, calling for lower prices for Cardano. We've seen DeFi take another hit. We're at pretty much, given the fact that we've got, you know, quite a lot of dApps coming online, certainly going into January. We've got JED. We've also got the fiat-backed stablecoin. I think this is going to boost the DeFi ecosystem, but it's not there yet. And whether that has any effect on Cardano's price or not is still yet to be seen. I think DeFi does very well when it's useful in regard. It's always useful and it's actually very revolutionary. But farming DeFi in a lot of cases only works in a bull market, because essentially for me, I was a big part of Ethereum DeFi summer. It was great that I had something like MakerDAO there where I could lock my Ethereum up and take DAI and go and buy more Ethereum, which was going up anyway, and just continue to do that and kind of leverage myself in that kind of a position. However, in a situation where the assets that you're maybe leveraging in these DeFi protocols is going down, there's real risk in regards to liquidation. It's what we saw with Terra Luna. It's kind of what we saw with FTX. They leveraged up too much on assets that were going down against them. So I think DeFi is really going to come into its own, and we're going to have a Cardano DeFi summer or whenever it is, when the overall situation changes. But for now, I think it's a continuous bleed out. I think the fact that Cardano potentially isn't showing too much strength against the other altcoins means that it's not necessarily going to be wanted to be held. If you're choosing a crypto to hold, maybe you got your long-term vision, but I'm talking in terms of mitigating downside. You're not going to put it in Cardano because it's been weak against quite a few assets. Now, I think that with price, again, remember, it's buyers and sellers. It's why, Luna did so well and Solana, because it was essentially pumped by people like Sam Bankman-Fried, Kevin O'Leary, all these other people. Cardano doesn't have that, but it will. When it becomes popular again, when this bull market gets issued in, Cardano is absolutely going to shine. It's been here in 2017. It was in the top 10, still in the top 10 today, and is actually set, I think, in the next bull run to change many people's lives. This is just the start for Cardano here, guys. Ultimately, we're going to have a retracement. I think we're going to come to these levels down here. I wouldn't be surprised to see an 18-cent Cardano. And I think that that's going to set us up. And this is what we looked at in the video that I had sort of done for you guys. We looked at the sort of road forwards. We looked at coming down to this 20.6 level. Maybe we get some sort of a rally. And then we're coming down into these levels before we see that continuation. This is... continuation is probably the better word. This is really what we're looking at moving forwards, coming down. We could say into this kind of range here before I'm even looking to accumulate. And the overall sort of broad macro picture has to kind of support that. We've said with all these rallies that crypto's been having, even though the FOMO has definitely been there, I'm not immune to it, that ultimately, we've always known that downside was very likely, given the fact that the macro sort of conditions, look at personal savings rate, look at everything, just doesn't dictate that a rally is going to do well in this environment or be sustained. And it's always been a relief rally, and we're still yet to have that Lehman's moment, unfortunately. That all being said, in regards to the price, and make your own mind up. If you think Cardano discounted here and you want to buy, don't let me stop you. Okay, this is not financial advice, just my take on it as somebody that studies these markets, is very interested in them, and has sort of made it, my life's work now. I've been here for 5 years, and crypto is what I do. We're all in crypto, whether it be stable coins for the time being. But that being said, there's some amazing things taking place. We've got, as a space, we're just continuing to grow. We're continuing to gain delegated wallets. We're continuing to gain wallets in general. Cardano, in terms of staked, continues to grow, and new users continue to excel. Certainly with what happened with Solana. But this was something that I didn't think got enough coverage. And I'm going to do a whole separate video on this. It took a while, but Haskell now can run in the browser. I wonder what Haskell to JavaScript means for the industry. This would be huge. So one huge barrier to entry is, of course, the languages that these cryptos are wrote up in. So built in. Now, JavaScript is the largest by far development language out there. And if there's a way that JavaScript native developers, and we follow a few blockchains, which I won't mention, that actually are solely purposed on this, then that would open the floodgates to development, to just, cause any ecosystem to explode, because you'd have this absolute floodgate of developers coming into it. And that, of course, would increase the usage of Cardano and ultimately the price. So this is a lot bigger than I think people give it credit for. But this was kind of just a chilled out one. We reached our first target that we gave a couple of weeks ago. For those of you that aren't following a guy called the Crypto Sniper, we have him on the show quite regularly. He technically actually called a break from the 50s. He also called Solana down to 3 cents when it was, right up there. But he technically called for this, and it's made his first target. So he's now, doesn't mean that it's over. I think the next targets are, there may be a pause here, but then you're going to, in my opinion, see that continuation. And that isn't a reflection necessarily of Cardano, just more sell pressure than there is buy pressure currently, given the overall circumstances. And ultimately, I think that this is going to take us to that downside. But there's no doubt in my mind that Cardano is going to survive this. It's not going anywhere. I know how disheartened potentially some of you may feel. I felt the exact same way in 18. In fact, I even had, funds on an exchange called Cryptopia, which went belly up, kind of like FTX. So I've lived all this before, guys, and I want to leave you with this before I go. It was sticking around in this revolutionary technology and investing in it when nobody else would that changed my life. I have a level of financial freedom that at one point was, a dream. It's now a reality, and that's all thanks to crypto. So I owe a lot to this space. It's why during this bear market, during these low engagement times, we continue to come on and make content for you guys because I care about the space and people that are investing in it and have the kind of foresight to see this for what it is, a technological revolution that hasn't even started yet, guys. If you look at the amount of people that use crypto, it's non-existent. That next wave of adoption is coming, and I think Cardano is very well placed to capitalize on it, certainly as it's still a project that's being built. And there's many great sort of achievements that are yet to be made. That's all I've got for you in this video, guys. You enjoyed the content, like, as always, appreciate it. So as a comment, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.